I would like to welcome you to the exploration of quantum medicine. In this series, I want to talk about scalar technology, how does it work, what is it, and how does it work at a distance. We'll explore this spooky action at a distance, as Einstein called it, and also we'll show you the history of radionics and how it has developed over the years. And then I want to introduce you to something that's brand new called a quantum server. A quantum server is radionic equipment that's connected to the internet that you can access from your handphone, from your PC, anywhere in the world. And so you can choose a program and start balancing yourself. So let's get started with the number one question: what is quantum medicine? So what is quantum medicine? According to the Wikipedia, quantum medicine doesn't exist. The page quantum medicine does not exist. You can ask for it to be created, but consider checking the search results below to see whether the topic is already covered. Well, I can tell you that I have tried to put some of these out-of-the-box type ideas onto Wikipedia, and they are very quickly taken down. For example, the SE5 and radionics, which I'll talk about in a few moments. They last about 48 hours and then that's it, and somebody takes them down. So it doesn't really surprise me that quantum medicine does not exist on Wikipedia. But everyone else seems to know about quantum medicine. There are actually even conferences. There are videos, conferences. Here I was speaking at the Quantum Energy Medicine Conference in India, and there are many different people promoting this idea of what quantum medicine is. So we're entering into this era of quantum healing, and this is where this is headed. Now, the idea of quantum healing, the term, was really developed by Deepak Chopra, and he had a book called Quantum Healing, and that's when it started, and it was the first time that somebody started putting together a concept of using quantum physics and healing together into one package deal. He also added into the mix spirituality and connection with the source, and that got him into a lot of trouble, but he held his own very well, and I appreciate him very much for that. Some of the other leaders in quantum are Dr. Amit Goswami. You might remember him from What the Bleep. He's a theoretical quantum physicist, and he has been talking about how quantum physics relates to consciousness, as well as Dr. Fred Alan Wolf, also known as Dr. Quantum. And Dr. Quantum has done a lot of animated videos that you can find on YouTube that explain some of these quantum concepts in very clear terms, step by step, and how they work with the animations, and it makes a lot of sense when you see it actually animated. Dr. V. Vernon Wolf, I worked with him for many years in holodynamics, and he also has a degree in physics as well as psychology, and so he combined the quantum, the idea of quantum, and some of the principles of quantum together into a system of psychology called holodynamics. Very interesting person, worth checking out as well. So what is quantum medicine? Well, the dictionary does have a meaning. It's a noun, and it's a branch of complementary medicine that uses low-dosage electromagnetic radiation in the treatment, diagnosis, and prevention of disease. Now, I think that's a very narrow definition of what it is, and we're going to expand on that, and it's going to get much bigger than just using some electromagnetic radiation in disease. Let's go way beyond that. But this is at least a good start. But for me, my definition of quantum medicine is using the model of quantum physics to explain the observable phenomena of consciousness interactive healing, remote healing, electronic healing, scalar healing, spontaneous remission, subtle energy healing, and other unexplainable healing processes that conventional medicine cannot explain. That makes more sense to me. When we get into things like remote healing from a distance, the only way you can explain some of these things is with quantum physics, because it's the most advanced physics that we have presently. Now, eventually, I think we're going to have physics that goes beyond quantum, but at least right now we have some of the actual mathematical and understanding of physics, how we could explain some of these things. So we're using the model of quantum physics to help explain things that we see every day when we're doing some of these strange, off-the-track things, but we see the effect. So we're trying to explain why, and that's why we're using quantum physics. Now, some of the pioneers in quantum medicine, like George Lakowski, he set up a special type of antenna and pulsed them with certain frequencies that would go through the body, and it would attack or resonate or eliminate pathogens in the body. And he cured thousands of people. Now, the AMA and pharmaceutical companies do not like electromedicine. In fact, I read the original AMA charter where it showed in the charter itself that it was formed to eliminate chiropractic and electromedicine, and later homeopathy. So he didn't fare too well by the end, but throughout his entire career, he helped so many people. Raymond Royal Rife, kind of the same story. He came up with a way to use electromagnetic frequencies, and he developed a microscope so he could watch what happened at the microbial level to these pathogens when the resonant frequencies would resonate, and it was like a glass shattering when the singer sings the right note and the glass vibrates so much that it just bursts and shatters, and he was able to see that in his microscope. So he was able to fine-tune these frequencies for different pathogens and cause this effect, and he also helped a lot of people. And of course, he ended up very similarly to George Lakowski. The AMA did not like his stuff, and he ended up with his lab taken and most of his equipment. But luckily, he had taught a lot of people about his work before he was put out of business. Dr. Albert Abrams. Now, he has a long history. He was an amazing, intelligent person, and he discovered this phenomena of resonance in the physical body with pathogens. And I'm going to go into that more in depth. But again, he ended up kind of on the same way. He was one of the first people to be put out of business with his electromedicine that he developed. But the granddaddy of them all is really Nikola Tesla. And all of these other pioneers based their work originally on Nikola Tesla, because Tesla actually invented the radio. Now, I know you've heard that Marconi invented the radio, but Marconi had worked for Nikola Tesla and actually stole his plans on how to build the radio frequency generator. And so Marconi got the patent, but this was turned over. They got the patent office to rescind that and show that Nikola Tesla actually had invented the radio long before Marconi. So we're going to focus on the strangest phenomena of them all, called radionics. And that's what it became after Dr. Albert Abrams had developed his work, and then Ruth Drown studied with him, Galen Hieronymus. We're going to go through these different people and what they added to radionics and what their specialty was and how it got to where it is today with the pinnacle of radionics. And that is the SE5-1000. But in the older days, they used very simple types of electronic instrumentation to produce these resonant frequency effects. Now, in the old instruments, the very first instrument I saw was like the one here on the left. It was a Delaware instrument, and a friend of mine was an electronic engineer, and I, of course, have electronic background as well. So we took it apart, and we looked inside of it, and it wasn't wired in any logical way that we had understood electronics to be wired in. So that's where things get a little bit strange with, okay, is this physics? Is it replicatable physics? How is it working? If it's not wired properly, how could it possibly do anything? And how could it work? But as we progressed over time, we found out that these interactive frequencies have a different way of propagating. We call them now scalar waves. And scalar waves, once we've refined this, now in the SE5-1000, we've refined it to a fine art with real scalar wave generators. And I think at this point, some of those old devices just were producing some resonant frequencies that had a scalar component to them. But we didn't know that back then, or they weren't aware of it back then. I think they just sort of stumbled into it. But by now, we know that the SE5-1000 uses actual scalar wave generators, and we'll go into that step by step. So join me for the next part in the history of radionics, and we'll talk a little bit more in depth about each one of these people and the instrumentation and how it actually was used and is used today.